Alright, so I'm going to try my best to explain what settings I use and what I think are the best settings for controller and console. Honestly, I don't know anything about PC settings, so this would not be the video for PC settings. But obviously, there are going to be some similarities between what you can adjust on PC and as well as on console. So without further ado, I was about to say let's jump right into it, but yeah, just remember to like and subscribe, of course, because I really appreciate it. But anyways, I'm going to jump right into it now. The first thing we are going to be looking at are the general settings. Crossplay I have on because I'm never going to be able to find a lobby on just Xbox, or for that matter, if even if I was on either PlayStation or PC, yeah, you're never going to be able to find a lobby with just people on your particular console or PC or whatever input. I guess I don't know input device. And then when it comes to control hints or reactive hints, I have both of these on because why not? I mean, really, I don't see that big of a deal when it comes to these two things, but I normally have it on just to let me know if by pressing a certain button that I'm indeed going to actually be either reloading if my ammo is low, or if I'm going to be going inside a vehicle, or using a zip line. For share usage data, I had that off because I like my privacy, and I'm not really a big fan of EA, even though I would say DICE and Battlefield's pretty decent, but they have fallen off quite a bit. But whatever, that's a different story. Show player created content that allows you to go into portal lobbies or to see whatever. It allows you to be able to play games in portals. So yeah, I had that on for that reason. Allow followers if you want people to be able to send you a friend request and yeah, send you a friend request, and not necessarily you don't have to add them or anything. It just lets you know if people are trying to add you. I have that on. And then show XP top for server. That basically it only matters whenever you're playing in Portal, because Portal XP servers or the in Portal you only got these options. You got full XP, you got moderate XP, and then you got restricted XP. Restricted XP, you basically don't get any XP. Moderate, you get some XP, but it's very limited because normally in those lobbies you're playing with AI automatically on, and then with full XP and Portal, and that's basically the same thing as playing regular Warfare, which you just get full XP for everything you do. Persistent servers. This allows it to where if you create your own server in Portal or copy and paste someone else's server, that when you leave it, that the server is still active. That is if and only if there's another actual player in the lobby besides you. Probably doesn't matter if you guys run that or not, but if you want to run your Portal servers and want them to stay active after you leave the lobby, then yeah, you have to have this on. And then show party in the menu. That lets you know who, if you're playing with anyone besides yourself, or if, for example, if sometimes your followers might be able to join into your lobby join into your lobby without to actually be on your friends list, and that this will just let you know in advance who's trying to play with you or who is actually going to be playing with you. And then we have network settings. As you can tell, it says stats and always on top. This is talking about, let's say, like ping and all that, ping latency. Basically, if there's any issues with your connection to a server, it will let you know in either the top right corner of the screen or lower. And I have always on top to on so that those widgets, as they're called, those widgets always show up in the top left corner of the screen or where position that you have it in, whatever. It makes it to where they're always on top instead of lower more towards the center of the screen. And then for background opacity, I have it set to 10 because, as important as being able to know when you're lagging, it's not really something that I want to be completely covering up something in the corner of my screen, because sometimes on occasion, you do have some of your HUD emblems crossing each other. At the end of the day, the latency, ping, and all that is not really as important as what's going on in the game, especially if I'm trying to see what's going on when I'm playing. And then for the horizontal position, as you can tell, I have it set to 100. That makes it to where the horizontal position and the vertical position, that basically makes it to where my basically those widgets are showing up roughly closer to the top left hand corner of the screen. Obviously, if I flip this back to off, then the placement would be a bit different, but since I have it on, this makes it to where, like I said, the horizontal position and vertical position, the widgets are slightly showing up more or less just below the top of the screen, but not necessarily all the way to the left side of my monitor screen, whatever. And then for these, like I said before, well, I don't even know why they have these on hide. That's what they should be on. Because if you have it on hide, then you won't get any widgets whatsoever. But yeah, you got three options. You got hide, you got always, and you always got, and then you got on problems. I only want to have these set to on problems just to let me know when certain things are happening. But I don't want it. I don't like I said. I don't want it to show me when everything's perfectly fine. I just want to know when there's actually issues, and then more or less, if there are, then I'll either choose to continue playing, or if I do continue playing, then I'll know when I get screwed. And then when it comes to like the damage log and show event graph, I don't have these on, but you could always have these on too if you really want to, just to get a better idea of your performance in game. I know on some occasion with some of these streamers they run like a whole graph and it'll show like all these different green or red boxes or whatever to show you when more or less your bullets are hitting or when they're not, when they're missing or when they should be hitting but are not registering. It shows that sort of thing. But yeah, that's really all it really is. That's all that that's all that really is when it comes to that sort of thing. But yeah, like I said, I don't really have it on for the most part because I'm not really interested in seeing a big graph in the corner of my screen all the time. But if you guys want to be able to see that all the time, like I said, it'll just always be there, and it might be in the way of certain emblems on your HUD when you're playing the game. When it comes to my display settings, the first thing we're looking at is video and field of view. Field of view, I have it set to 90 because if I go all the way up to like let's say, well, is it 105, 120? I don't even know. I've never even went all the way to. Okay, it's 105. If I was to go all the way up to 105, obviously there's going to be some occasions where if people are certain are like further away, they're going to be like tiny dots on my screen. I don't really want that, but at the same time, I also don't want it to be all the way at let's say 50 or whatever, because then I won't be able to see certain things like enemies whenever they're, especially if they're rushing me from like the corners of my screen. So I feel like 90 overall is the best. It's the best field of view for basically being able to tell when enemies are closing in on you at close range if they're about to come at you real fast, as well as being able to see people who are a bit further away so that they're not exactly too small to be able to shoot at. And not to mention with 90 field of view, I feel like visual recoil is very easy to control compared to lower FOVs. And obviously, if you go even higher than that, then you're definitely not going to notice any recoil whatsoever. Unless you decide not to hold down on your analog stick or your mouse while you're playing the game, because then you're obviously you're not going to be controlling your weapon, and then you will be seeing the recoil. But yeah, anyways, then when it comes to vehicle third person field of view, I have mine set all the way up because I like being able to see what's going on, especially when I'm driving in third person. Actually, not especially. This is specifically for third person whenever you're in vehicles. But yeah, I like to get the most. I like to be able to see the most amount of area around my vehicle whenever I'm driving around, just to be on the safe side, especially if there's enemies running at you with C5s, or if again a vehicle just comes out of nowhere and just wants to rush you and shoot you. And then for the ADS field of view, I have this set to on. If you were to turn it to off, then it will make it to where your FOV zooms back into like I think the default is like 70 or 80 or something like that. It might be 60. I don't know. All I know is that if you were to leave the ADS field of view off every time you ADS, your screen is going to zoom into what the field of view is for the game by default, and you don't want that because you're not going to well there's going to be really no point running a 90 field of view in my opinion if you do that. And not to mention, it's harder to control recoil whenever your screen zooms back in. Then not to mention you're getting like I don't know what to call it, but like you might experience some FPS drops or something like that whenever you have your character constantly going in and out of field of view like that. If you have this set to off, that is. But yeah, like I said, I run on because I like my 90 field of view no matter what, no matter whether I'm aiming or moving around, running around, aiming from the hip, whatever. And then when it comes to brightness, this is going to be different for everyone else. I have mine set to 60 because, I don't know why DICE does this, but when you're adjusting the game beforehand, I believe that there are three sets of logos that you can look at, and normally you want the far left one to be completely gone, to be completely blacked out, before before uh, before you adjust it any further. And then after that, if say for example, if you want your game to be a bit brighter because you might have a harder time seeing enemies, especially in dark places, then by all means turn it up even after that. But by default, you're going to want to, like I said, adjust this to where the far left logo is completely blacked out. But I can't remember if I did that or if I went a bit above, went beyond that because, like I said, I just like having my screen a little bit bright to be able to see enemies in dark places sometimes. So yeah, you have to play this. This is going to be different for everyone depending on your monitor or if you're playing on TV, which a lot of TVs you can just adjust the brightness on the TV itself. But with my monitor, you can't do that. You got to use the settings in the game. HDR calibration, I have no idea what that is. I don't know as I don't use it. Motion blur, you want this set to 0 because you don't want to not be able to see enemies in close range, especially when you're moving around a lot. And then imagine running motion blur with ADS field of view off. That would be ridiculous. You wouldn't be able to see anything whenever you're moving around. But yeah, you want this set to off so that you can actually see things when you're walking around. And same thing with chromic aberration and vignette, whatever. Basically, all these things are going to affect how blurry your game is. Obviously, with motion blur, it's only going to affect whenever you're moving around. But with chromatic aberration and vignette, whatever, yeah, this is going to affect how blurry your game is whenever, even when you're standing completely still. And I like my game to be as, I guess you could say, pretty as possible. I don't know what the actual advantages are to actually having these on, but yeah, like I said, these two things will just make your game look worse. It'll make things look blurry, and yeah, like I said, I just don't see the point in it. So yeah. Now we're on HUD general settings. Obviously, when you're playing a game, you're going to want to have you're always going to want to have your HUD on, show HUD on, unless you like the hardcore experience. Which by all means, if you want to experience that, then go for it. That is, if you don't want to start your own Portal server with that sort of settings on. But yeah, if you're a normal person, you're going to want to have this on so you can see your mini map, so you can see all your emblems and all that stuff whenever you're playing the game. And then show HUD prompts. You're always going to want to have that on. That goes back to like with the whole buttons thing. You're always going to want to see that, which I don't know why. I just noticed this too. They have control hints and reactive hints over here as well as in the general settings. I don't know why they got this setting twice, or at least so far. I just noticed that, but yeah, showing the HUD prompts is basically going to affect these two things and whether or not you can see them or not. And if you want to see them, then you're going to want to have this on, and if not, then turn that off. But then it really doesn't even matter what you put for these two after that. Again, what are these decisions? But yeah. Anyways, I like to have them on because with these things, I like to know when certain things are about to happen or when they should happen. Like I said, whenever I'm getting into a vehicle, ziplining, or if I need to reload my gun, if I'm low on ammo, which I don't really have that problem anyways. But for this is for any of y'all out there who may on occasion just spray and pray and not realize that, oh hey, I only got like 3 bullets left in my gun, maybe I should reload, maybe I should turn on a thing that makes it to where a button pops up and it shows that I need to reload my gun, weapon, whatever. HUD motion, you want to have this off because don't want things to be blurry whatsoever. With it, when it comes to show vehicle C, you're going to want to have this on to know where you are at in the vehicle, whether or not you are the driver's seat, the co-pilot seat or passenger seat, or the other passenger seats. Helicopter gun view. Basically, whenever you are in the co-pilot seat of a helicopter and you're using the secondary weapon, there's going to be a logo, like a helicopter logo or something like that, at the very bottom of the screen that shows you, well, everything that's right there on the right side of the screen, by the way. But yeah, I have this set to on. I have this set to both so that I can see as much of what's going on as possible. Especially helpful for, let's say, lining up my where I'm pointing my weapon at with the driver of the helicopter. For soldier compass, I have this always set to on. I mean, I'm not sure if this is really a big deal or not. Choose whether the soldier compass is visible only when aiming down the sight. I mean, I have it set to always on. at the end, I don't even think this really matters all that much. Not that I mean, I probably would notice if I turned it to off, but I have it set to always on just because why not? I like to have as much information as possible whenever I'm playing the game. And then camera shake amount. This is especially important for whenever you're dealing with explosions or revolution, whatever. I like to have this set the lowest amount because I don't like my screen shaking. I like to be able to see everything as clear as possible, even when things are getting hectic or whatever. For colorblind settings, I have my colorblind preset set to custom because I like to have my own custom set colors. Obviously, you guys can set all these colors to wherever you want, but for me, I have custom friendly colors set to a light green. For the enemy color, I have it set to bright red. For my squad, I have yellow. For the neutral colors, I have like a grayish color. For the custom accent color, this is the color for let's say the hood on the sides of the screen or whatever. I have this set to like a similar yellow color to my squad color. And then for the custom primary color, this affects like the logos in the bottom right corner of the screen, such as where it shows the weapon and the equipment that you're using. I have this set to light blue. For the custom player color, which is my color, I have this set to pink so that I know, so I can differentiate myself or my equipment that I lay down on the map to everyone else that's on the map. So yeah, if you're running like a Boris or if you're running like a Claymore, this pink color will show those as being pink, and this also affects what colors show up as in your squad. And then when it comes to custom player health color, I have this set to green, a light green color. And then custom armor, I have this set to a light blue color. When it comes to the kill log, I only care about the kills that my squad gets and what's happening nearby, because most of the time you're going to want to see the kill feed to know if there are any enemies close by that have just killed someone that's on your team, or if your team has killed someone close by on your team or whatever. Like I said, this helps for gaining better knowledge of the world around me. And if I was to set to like let's say all or squad or whatever, I wouldn't be able to see the most important information, which to me is what's going on around my actual character in the game. When it comes to damage numbers, I have mine set to screen center because I like it having my damage numbers set below where I'm shooting at, and then I have it set to medium to because I feel like it's well, I guess you could say it's the best of both worlds really, but yeah, I don't want it too small, I don't want it too large, so yeah, that's why I have it set to medium. And then I have this adjusted to 4 and negative 70 to adjust where it's at, to adjust where the number's at on the screen. Obviously, if you were to play with that, it's going to, if you look to the right side, as you can tell by adjusting that, it's changing where exactly the numbers are at horizontally. Which I'm going to put this back on 4 like I had it. Same thing with this. This is going to adjust how close this is to, let's say, your reticle or whatever you want to call this thing, the hipfire reticle or whatever. But I like having my number below everything, so I don't want it too low though, just in case it gets in the way of seeing something that I need to be seeing. Something small like a claymore, I guess. But yeah, I have it set to negative 70 and 4 respectively because that's where I want my numbers to show up in respect to where I'm shooting at on my screen. Then when it comes to chat, I have my chat set to when active. You don't want this to be always on because it's just going to be a big giant square in the corner of your screen, just like with the graphs and all that stuff. Like I mentioned earlier, you don't want that to be getting in the way of what you need to see. And as you can tell, there, that's where it is right there. If you look at the right side of your screen, you don't want that box to always just be there, you know. And then I have enabled all chat to always on. It's not always on, but you know what I mean. Like whenever someone talks, it will pop up on the screen. I like having it on to know when. I mean, basically, I gotta be honest. I have this thing set to on in case someone gets mad at me because I think it's pretty funny to have people get mad at me sometimes for some reason, or to see what's going on in the game. Like maybe there's a cheater. I don't know. It's just ironic to see how people react sometimes to either me or to other things going on in the game, or maybe if I need to communicate with my squad or my team to let them know, hey, you know, we need to capture this objective, or you guys can you please come join me on this objective because you can switch this between showing there's 3 different or 4 different chats. 4 different chats. Yeah, there's 4 different chats, and one of them is party. One of them is a chat for everybody in the lobby. One is for just your squad, and what's the other one? It's party, full lobby, and squad. But then I can't remember what the other one was. All I know is that I only really use the I only ever. Oh yeah, it's team. That's what it is. So yeah, you have party, the full lobby, your team, and then your squad for those 4 different chats. But for me, I normally, if I use anything like, if I was to use anything, it's probably just only going to be team or squad chat. But if I feel like talking to other people on an enemy team, then yeah, I'll go to all chat for that. Chat channel indicator. Toggle the chat channel indicator visibly. This indicator shows what channel the message was sent in. Hmm. Toggle the chat channel indicator visibility. Honestly, I don't even know what that's for. Or maybe, no, there we go. Okay, so as you can tell from the right corner of the screen, I don't know if you can see those tiny dots, but yeah, apparently whenever you're switching between the different chats, it'll show you which chat you're in if you have this turned on the very right or very left side of that box, which, I mean, I don't really think it really matters, to be honest, because, I mean, you got those 4 larger rectangles or squares at the very top of that box right there. So I guess it might be useful if chat goes back to off if you don't have your chat set to always on, and then if you need to know what graph you're in without actually messing with it directly whenever if you're trying to type something into the box or whatever. Yeah, you're going to want to have this on so that you know if people are talking to you in like I said, any one of these chats, party, the full lobby, your team, or just your squad. And then I have the opacity, the chat background opacity set to 50 because I don't want it to be too dark, but also don't want it to be too light and not be able to see what's going on because sometimes these letters and numbers or whatever said could blend into the background if you don't have it darkened up, but you don't want it to be too dark so that you can't see what's going on in the corner of your screen behind that box. Chat width I have set to 600. Chat height have set to 225, and chat scale I have set to 70. This all adjusts the size of the box, and this is what I like to have for the total size of my box whenever I'm playing the game. For HUD scaling, you have highlighted log scale. I have that set to 100. I believe this makes adjusting this is going to make things smaller, which, as you can tell, minimap scale, squad info scale, confirmed log scale, world log scale, game hint scale, vehicle passenger scale, and player info scale. I have all these set to 100, which is the maximum amount, the maximum size, because again, I like to know what's going on. I don't want to miss important information, and this will allow me to see everything that's going on in the game. Minimap scale is definitely very important because the difference between this and having a small minimap is being able to see whether or not someone is close by and is shooting your teammates or maybe even shooting at you. And yeah, I don't know what highlighted log scale even does, to be honest. I believe this is relates to like the latency and pings and all that stuff. Whenever it's trying to let you know what's going on with that, and then squad info scale, I have like whatever. It's just let you know who's in your squad or who's not, or if you whatever. It lets you know who's in your squad. And then the confirmed log scale, this is basically when you're getting out orders and all that stuff. It'll let you know, order fault or something like that. I don't know. It goes right below your crosshair whenever you're playing the game. It just relates to like I said, the squad leader telling you to either attack or defend objective or to do something, and it'll just show whether or not if you confirmed it or didn't, whatever confirmed it. I don't think there's anything else. It'll just if you don't confirm anything, then nothing pops up. But yeah. With the world lock scale, this will let you know, like say for example, if an enemy team had captured an objective, or if your team had captured an objective, it also lets you know about the amount of tickets that you might have lost during that. That's what that's about. Game hints scale, I mean, I don't really use game hints that much to be honest, but I guess it could be very important for honestly, I don't even know. Change the scale in the game hints list. I mean, more information is good and not dandy, I guess, but it's not something I ever really noticed being there. But whatever it's for, I guess. I have it set to 100 so that I can see it clearly. For the vehicle passenger scale, what? Change the scale of your vehicle passenger information. Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, yeah. This will show. This shows all the people that are in a vehicle that you're in. I have it set to 100 so I can see how many people are in the vehicle or how many seats are open. If you want to know that, that's when you have that set to 100 to be able to see that clearly. And then the player info scale, which is well the most important thing really. That shows all your HUD, such as with your weapon, your ammo capacity, your equipment, your specialist equipment, that sort of thing. I have this set to 1 just so I can clearly see when my stuff is either recharging or if I've completely run out of ammo or equipment. Then I can see that clearly just fine without having to squint. And then the horizontal HUD padding, as you can tell, this is going to squeeze everything in. If you want everything closer to the center of the screen, which I wouldn't recommend, I mean, look at this. At this point, you're going to have what is this one? You're going to have your squad info scale covering your confirmed lock scale, but no, I have this set all the way down to 0 because I like everything as far away from the center of the screen as possible. Because to be honest, the most important information that you need to know about what's going on in the game is basically closer to the center of your screen because that's where you're shooting people at. You're never going to be shooting people from the sides or whatever. But yeah, like I said, I have this set to 0 to have everything as clear from the center of the screen as much as possible. Next, we have the crosshair settings. For your crosshair opacity, you're going to want this set to 100 so that you can clearly see where your crosshairs are at on the game. Because if you don't, then you won't know how large or small the like I said, the crosshairs are when you're shooting at enemies from the hip, especially. I mean, and if you look at the right corner of the screen, you're going to want to adjust this for also all kinds of settings. The darkest all the way to the brightest. Obviously, the brightest settings are depending on what color your crosshairs are. For me, it's white, so yeah, I want my white crosshairs to be as bright as possible or easy as possible to see, especially on snowy maps, like as you can see from the very far right part of the screen. And then for the crosshair outline opacity, I have this set to 50 because I don't want it to be too solid, I guess you could say. Again, it's more or less about to be able to see everything clearly. I don't like having a constant large dot or 4 lines just constantly just blocking things whenever I'm moving around. This is especially important when you're trying to shoot people at very far ranges that are very, very, very close to being just dots at that point. You don't want this to be completely blocking them out. So yeah, I have it set to 50, which is just right in the middle. Not too solid, but also not too transparent. And then yeah, I have my crosshair color set to white. You can decide which one you prefer for that, but I prefer to have it set to white. Crosshair thickness, I have it set to default. Obviously, you can adjust how more solid, I guess you could say this is. I don't know why they have this and this together. Doesn't really make much sense to me. It doesn't even show what this does to the crosshair or not, but yeah, all I know is that I like having my 50 for in game to, like I said, make sure it's not too solid, or not too transparent. But then you have this right here, which I don't get the point about these settings other than the fact that maybe, just maybe, by changing the crosshair thickness, it actually just sort of changed the overall shape of the crosshairs. As you can tell, thin looks a lot different from thick. But yeah, thick in this case is not going to be your best bet. You're going to want to have something in the middle like this, default, just so it's not too in the way and just so you can still see it. Because I guarantee you I cannot see thin crosshair thickness on snowy maps. And then when it comes to crosshair projection, whenever this crosshair is projected, it can lessen the feeling of motion sickness caused by certain camera motions by whatever. I have this set to off because I don't even have motion blur on. It's pointless to have this on if you have all your motion blur turned off as well. So yeah, if you want to play this game with motion blur on, then by all means have this on so that you don't get disoriented, I guess, while you're moving your character model around. But for me, yeah, I just have it off because I don't have motion blur on whatsoever, so no point in using that. Which, by the way, yeah, this just makes it easier to see your crosshair whenever you have your whatever, motion blur turned on, I guess you could say. Crosshair impact point icon, I have mine set as a circle for vehicles. I just like having that, especially for tanks. I don't know what it is. I think that just might be an OG sort of thing for me, because in the, like for example, Battlefield 3 or Battlefield 4, whenever you aim with a tank, you had a small circle in the center of your screen, not a plus sign or a cross or completely nothing there, disabled or whatever. But yeah, I like having a circle for, especially when I'm using a tank, using any sort of vehicle weapon, because most of the time, yeah, most of the time you're going to want to see exactly where you're shooting at with that, and it's a lot like the older Battlefield games. So yeah, crosshair impact point color, I have mine set to yellow. You can change this whatever color you want. When it comes to hit indicators, I like having mine set all the way up to max 100 because I would like to know when I'm actually hitting someone at all times. Because yeah, I honestly I don't know what I should even say for this, but yeah, it's very important to know when you're hitting someone. Let's just say, because if you have this thing turn all the way down to 0 or whatever, then you're not even going to know if you're even hitting someone, unless you just like the hardcore experience. And then the hit color, I have this adjusted to the black color. For my headshot color, I have this set to blue. This only pops up when you hit enemies in the head. And then the kill color, I have set to red to match the, well, I mean, it's not exactly the same color as the color I have for enemies, but yeah, roughly red to go along with the red color of enemies. For my broken hit indicator, I have it set to always on because I would like to know, get as much information as possible to know when an enemy player who's running the armor plates from the assault classes has their armor shot off or whatever. Because if I don't have this thing set to on, if I have this thing set to off, then I'm going to be wondering why this person took so many bullets. Oh, it's because he has 20 extra health from his armor. Right. Anyways, the armor hit indicator color, I have this set to like a grayish blue color, I guess you could say. Yeah, it will let me know when I've cracked their shield. That is if I even have it on in the first place. And then when it shows for the show damage type, I have this set to on because I would like to know the difference between all the different damage I'm inflicting on enemies. I don't want it all to be the same, which I don't know. Wait. Changes shape and size based on damage type. Whatever. I like having all my I was about to say that doesn't make any sense. Choose whether or not the hit indicator changes shape or size based on damage type. I mean, I would assume that if you have it on off, then everything's going to be the same size. But then somehow with show damage type on being on, it's going to have some differences. I think the headshot indicator might be bigger than let's say body shots, and same thing with like the armor cracked hit marks or whatever. I think those might be bigger than your regular hit marks if you have the set to on. But yeah, I mean this really doesn't matter that much to me. But I have it set to on anyways, just because why not? And then for the damage indicator, soldier damage color, I have this set to bright red. For the vehicle damage color, I have this set to like a peachy color. Just for some variety differences. Honestly, like again, you can change the colors to wherever you want it to be. And then for the thickness, as you can tell, I like having my vehicle damage thickness set to all the way to thick because vehicles, unlike human players, tend to be very big. So yeah, I don't have to worry about the damage indicator or my crosshairs getting in the way of blocking out a vehicle, even partially, because yeah, most vehicles are big enough to be seen even with a thick vehicle damage indicator. For my minimap settings, I have my minimap rotate with view always on because to me that's I just feel more comfortable with it. I don't like it to where I don't like it when my character model indicator, which is just a triangle, as you can see in the corner of my screen, or yeah, in the bottom left corner of the screen. I don't like it when that triangle is just moving and not anything else. It trips me up. So you always want to have this on because, especially since it's much like the older Battlefield games, if you ever played those and were a big fan of them. Honestly, I just like it just trips me up if I don't have this on, which you can see the difference right there in the bottom left corner of the screen of that little tiny screen, I guess you could say. I never really noticed this, but yeah, as you can tell, you don't want it to where your character is just the only thing that's moving and not everything around your character, you know. For the minimap scale, I don't know why they copied set. There's like some settings that are in multiple places. This is the second time I've seen this, but yeah, minimap scale. You want this to be as big as possible, especially if you want to be able to see when enemies are close by if they're shooting on suppressed weapons or whatnot. It's best just to have this on to see everything that's going on in the world. With the minimap's icon with view minimap icon scale with view distance, you're going to want to have this on because if you don't have this on, then like say for example flag, the flag widgets or whatever, the flag emblems, yeah, they're going to be super big even at long range, even if you're like really far away from them. So you're going to want to have this minimap icon scale with view distance set to always on so that the icons for let's say flags decreases and increases with size the closer or further away you get to where they are actually at on the map in the world, whatever you want to call it. And then with the default minimap view distance, I have mine set to auto because as you can tell, I like having three different settings for my vehicle for my distances that the minimap shows indicators and whatnot on. So yeah, if I was to set this to close, then your minimap's always going to only show everything to like 40 meters, I think. And then with medium, I think that goes up to 75. And then with far, it's always going to have your minimap set to 150 meters. But yeah, with auto, you can adjust these three to whichever ones you like, which uh, I don't know how to describe which button you press, but there's a button that you gotta press to be able to fluctuate between the different minimap distances. So yeah, by default, when I'm playing as a soldier, I have mine set to the max, which is 75 meters. But when I'm in ground vehicles or if I press a certain button to change the minimap view distance, I have it set to double that, which is 150 meters. And then when it comes to foreign minimap view distances, which this is a default for air vehicles such as jets and helicopters, I have this set to 300. I don't want everything to be too far away because then everything's going to be super tiny. But yeah, this is very important, especially if you're playing. This last one is very important if you're playing uh, like regular conquest with like 128 players or whatever, and then these two are going to be very important for more close quarters maps or a lot smaller maps, I guess you could say. Which again, I don't know how to say which button y'all are going to have to press to be able to fluctuate between these three. But for me, on an Xbox controller, the button that I use to change my minimap view distances is the button with the two squares. Basically, the left tiny button on my Xbox controller. That's what helps me fluctuate between these three different minimap view distances, and I like to be able to fluctuate between them because sometimes enemies on the minimap are going to be a lot further away, are going to be further than what the minimap square actually shows. So yeah, if I press that button, I'm able to see a further distance of enemies and whatnot that is actually going on my minimap. And then when it comes to the minimap icon scale, I had this set to 100. I can't remember if this is what it is by default or not, but yeah, basically this is going to make all your icons either super large or super small on the minimap, which you don't want it to be too large because then your minimap is just cluttered. But if you have it too small, then you're not going to be able to see anything. So yeah, I just have it like somewhere in the middle, just 100, just to be able to still see everything and not be too cluttered. And then icons opacity, the minimap icons opacity, I have it set to 100 because I like to be able to see everything that is going on in the game. This is very important. You don't want to make this unseeable, I guess you could say. You want to be able to see where all your teammates and all your enemies and where all your flags and vehicles, enemy vehicles, friendly vehicles are at on the minimap. And then for the minimap FOV opacity, I have this set to 10. I can't remember what this is. Oh yeah, it's the little cone that goes that projects outside of the little triangle that represents your character model right here. So yeah, that cone that adjusts the opacity. Oops, adjusts the opacity of that, which I like having it set to 10 because it's not really that important to me. But it's just enough there to be able to see what's going to see. I guess it makes it easier just to notice which direction I'm looking in. But yeah, it's not really that important. So that's why I have mine set to 10. And then for the minimap texture opacity, I have this set to 75 because I still like to be able to see all the different little tiny details on the map, but I also don't want it to be too solid to where I can't see through the minimap in case I need to be able to see like a freaking enemy just popping out of the ground from the bottom left corner of my screen out of nowhere. And then with the background opacity, I don't know why there's two different ones for that. But yeah, I have both these sets at 75. They basically do the same thing. It adjusts the background on your minimap. And I like having, like I said, as many details as possible about the game, what's going on around me without it being too solid and blocking out some important information that could present itself. And then for the big map, I have my big map FOV opacity set to 10. You pull this up by pressing the same button that I mentioned earlier. Like I said, for me on Xbox, it's a double square button. You have to hold it in for like at least 2 or 3 seconds before the big map pops up, if you guys would like to use that. But yeah, I have mine set to 10 because it's not really that important. And normally when I'm looking at it, something on the big map, it's in a safe place because I'm not going just gonna be running around enemies pulling my big map out to see what's going on. But yeah, this is very important for, let's say, if you're a vehicle player or are playing on big conquest maps. And then again, as you can tell, this adjusts the opacity of the texture of the big map, opacity of the background, and then the big map background blur opacity. Uh, I have mine set to these things because I have mine set to these things to be able to see enough details. I guess you could say. I normally don't really. I normally don't normally use the big map texture anyways, to be honest. But like I said, if you're a vehicle player or playing on a very large conquest map and want to know what's going on outside of 300 meters, if you were to copy my settings outside the range of these three settings, then you're going to want to be able to use your big map and be able to see what is going on, including the texture of the map, the how solid or transparent that the background of that mini map is, and then I don't get the setting. Adjust the big map background blur opacity. I don't. Gotta be honest, I don't really understand this sort of thing. Why is this? What's the point of including this with this with this? I don't get that. Strange to me. Yeah, anyways, I had mine set to 100 because, I like it to, well, I just have to set to 100 because these two are really what adjusts everything. I don't know what the point of having that, to be honest. But I guess if you wanted to be able to, adjust both of these at the same time overall, let's say turn both these up to 100 and then adjust this one, then, that would be the vice versa. So yeah, I guess you could say if you don't want to adjust these two, you set these two to 100, then adjust this one. But for me, I have both these set to 85, and I have this set to 100 because I'm not planning on changing that. And then for the big map out of combat texture, this happens whenever you're you're probably never going to press the big map button if you're a foot soldier, but if you're going outside the mini map, it has a foot soldier. But in a vehicle, obviously, if you're in a jet, then yeah, this is going to be very important to be able to see. I guess see the texture and the background of the map outside of the map, whatever. I don't know, but I believe you're only going to really need this to be on if you're like a jet player. But if you're like a foot soldier like me, I mean, having this set to off is not really a big deal neither. It's not going to change anything for the most part unless you want to be able to pull your big map while out of the combat zone for like 9 seconds or whatever. Now we have the HUD icons display setting. First thing we're looking at is aim-based icons opacity. This affects whether or not certain icons show up whenever you are ADSing as a foot soldier or whatever. I can't remember if I left these on default or not, but yeah, you can see at the the right side of your screen what each one of these does. Honestly, I don't believe I really changed anything from what it is by default. But I guess the way that I have it right now is basically it makes it to where icons will either increase in size or decrease in size based on whether or not I'm aiming down sights or not, as well as in my peripherals, I guess. Outside of peripherals, whatever. This affects whether or not I'm aiming the size of icons when I'm aiming down sights, whether it be flags or, well, honestly, I think that's all it is just flags, objective icons, whatever. Yeah, I probably just left this on default. Ain't really a big deal with these settings right here, honestly. Then when it comes to objective icons, I believe everything is just on default, honestly. I didn't even bother like changing any of these things. Obviously, with the way that it is left as, most things are not too. Most of the icons are either not too solid, but also not too transparent, so you can still see them. And I think the only thing I did change was the enemy icons, really, because at the end of the day, uh, of all these icons, to me, the enemy icons are definitely the most important ones. Which, yeah, like I said, I believe the enemy icons I did change. So yeah, with the enemy icon scale, I turned that up all the way to 150 because I think by default it is on 80. Yeah, that's what it is. On default, the enemy icon scale is set to 80, but by having it on 150, I'm able to see when enemies are shooting unsuppressed weapons or enemy vehicles on the map on my mini map with larger icons. I guess you could say. But yeah, larger icons. That's basically what this affects. And this is more important because I would like to know when enemies are, where the enemies are, or when the enemies are around me or close to are trying to shoot at me. Maybe, perhaps, I don't know. It's best to know. It's best to know where everyone's at on the minimap, but especially the people that could kill you. Yeah, and then we get to neutral icons. I left this on default. This is for flags you haven't captured yet, or I just finished neutralizing whatever if you're playing Conquest. Ping marker icons, left this on default. Obviously, you can change the size of that if you really wanted to, or change how solid or transparent it is, but I like the size how it is in game already. And then with the interaction prompt scale, yeah, it's just on default 100. I'm not sure what any of these things. I'm not sure what the point of most of these things are, honestly, especially with all the other settings that I've mentioned in this video. But yeah, the most important thing is just to make sure your enemy icons are very visible and as big as you can make them when you're moving around your map trying to play the game. Okay, now we are on the sound settings. For volume, you're going to want to have your master volume as loud as possible. But for the sake of this video, and because yeah, I'm getting tired of of uploading videos and not realizing the background noise in this game is too loud for you guys to be able to hear me. I have this set to 100 just to make this video. But yeah, after I get done making this video, I'm going to set this back to 100. For the music volume, I don't think music is really that important. Most of the time, you're not going to really hear anything unless you're in a vehicle and someone turns on the radio, or if you're at the very end of a game and the dramatic music is playing, I guess. But yeah, I don't really care much for it. But I have it set to 30 just so I can hear a faint cry of the game about to be over, I guess you could say. For the sound effects volume, I have mine set to 90. Is it even supposed to be 90? Hmm. The thing about the sound effects volume is that I like having this. I like having this set to a higher number because I like to be able to hear footsteps, which you're not going to be able to hear enemy players' footsteps if you have this set too low. But if you don't care for that sort of thing, if you just want to rely on your minimap like mentioned before, then obviously this doesn't matter to you. I can't remember if this is supposed to be on 100 or not, but I think I might have turned it down to 90 because the explosions are very annoying sometimes. Sometimes the explosions can basically be louder than everything else in the game. But yeah, I have mine set to a reasonable number to be able to hear enemy footsteps because that's very important for knowing if someone's about to sneak up behind you and knife you or is about to sneak up and shoot you, really. For the in-game announcer volume, I have this set to 40. It's not really that important to me. Basically, it's just going to be a character that's just going to let you know sometimes when an objective gets taken or it's being taken, or if your team has captured objectives and whatnot. Then I guess sometimes on occasion, both enemy players and teammates, their character models have voice lines that they'll speak, and you can hear them by adjusting this volume too. It's not really that important to me. It's not as important as everything else. So yeah, I have my set to 40 for that. It's only slightly more important than music volume, to be honest. But obviously, your master volume you're going to want that to be at the highest volume possible. And then the sound effect volume, you're going to want to have that reasonably high as well. And then if you're playing on TV, then of course the master volume and actually no, not sound effect, but the master volume. If you're playing on a TV, then it doesn't matter what you adjust because you can just change the volume of your TV anyways. But if you're wearing like a headset like mine and playing on a monitor, yeah, I have this turned all the way up to be able to hear things, or more specifically, hear enemy players a lot more clearly when they're close by and not shooting or not on my minimap. Then for the configuration, I have mine set to surround because I'm currently using surround headphones while I'm playing the game. Obviously, you can just change this to your needs. Mono, I don't know anyone who uses mono. It's just bad volume, really. It only sounds like you're listening to everything from one speaker. And stereo, yeah, this is if you're not wearing a headset. If you're playing on a TV out loud, yeah, just have this set to stereo, really. And then auto. I'm not even sure what the point of having auto is because normally this is something that probably would only be reserved for like a PC. But on PC, most PC players are not going to be playing a game without wearing a headset. And as you can tell from the audio mix, I have mine set to headphones. Obviously, if you wanted to be able to hear everything a lot more loudly and more clearly, then yeah, War Tapes is the way to go. War Tapes is super loud though. That's the only issue I have with it. The thing about War Tapes is the explosions are just insane. Like it's a freaking Michael Bay film or something when you're playing this game on War Tapes. I don't like having War Tapes on because I can't hear anything besides explosions at that point. So yeah, I have mine set to headphones and surround sound because I'm wearing a headset. And I haven't really played with many of the other audio mix settings, but obviously with the last two, they're specific for two unique headsets or speakers. Honestly, I don't know what the Logitech. I'm not familiar with Logitech technology, so yeah, they for whatever reason made a setting that's unique to two different speakers or headphones or whatever. by Logitech. And I don't think I've ever used 3D headphones, but yeah, I don't, yeah, I've never used 3D headphones, so I can't really comment on it other than it's just, as you can tell, it's useful if you're for any stereo headphones. But most headphones, I would say, most modern day headphones, really aren't. I don't think they're going to be. Most headphones are not stereo headphones. They're surround sound headphones, let's just say. And obviously, headphones is what I have on. And then when it comes to night mode and speakers mode, this is basically if you're playing with playing on a computer monitor that has speakers hooked up to it. And night mode, if you want to be able to basically if you want to be able to play your game while your partner is sleeping, or maybe someone in your family is sleeping close by, you don't want them to wake them up, and you're dumb enough to not to use a headset while you're playing this game. But yeah, that's what night mode is for, I guess. I don't know why I went in that order, but yeah, most people are going to be playing this game with headphones on, so yeah, just use surround sound with headphones, unless you want to have unless you want to feel like you're playing a Michael Bay video game. Then for the hit indicator, I have a sound set to on because again, I like to have as much information as possible, not just seeing it. I want to be able to hear when I'm hitting someone or something. In world music, I have this set to on. Especially, this is really only going to matter if you are in like a vehicle and the pilot or the driver turns on the radio. Really doesn't matter to me, to be honest, but I have it set to on anyways in case I just feel like listening to some generic music that was put into the game. And then the music package, I have this set to default, but obviously you can change the what the music that you get in the lobby, or the pre-game lobby or the actual in-game, based on what was there when the game first launched. The first season, second season, third season, fourth season, fifth season, sixth season, the seventh and final season, and then this just switches it up. I have mine set to default. To be honest, I don't even know what default is compared to everything else. I don't really listen to music all that much because, yeah, it's very low to begin with, but it's just enough there to add some character to the game, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, you're able to listen to whatever sort of season music you want. But yeah, I don't really care, so I have mine set to default. For voice chat, I have mine set to on in case I want to talk to someone in game. Honestly, this is only going to matter for your squad because you can't really change it anyways. See, I'm trying to change it right now, but it doesn't do anything. I think this thing only pops up if you're in a party versus a squad. So I guess, for example, getting sidetracked a little, but yeah, for this, the only time that you're able to adjust is if, for example, you're playing with someone that you partied up with in a pregame lobby, and then join into a lobby with randoms in a squad. This will basically make it to where you can either only talk to the person that's in your direct party while you're playing the game, or you're talking to the entire squad, not just the person that you're partying up with. But yeah, I have this set on in case I want to talk to people and they have a mic and want to talk as well. I know for the most part, though, I was about to say I did just turn this on recently, but normally I have this set. I think well, for me as a content creator, I guess if you want to even call me that, sounds pretty weird to say that, but yeah, you might want to have this set to off because you don't want people to be saying certain words that could get you banned from YouTube. Banned from YouTube? Community strike from YouTube? I don't know, whatever. You don't want people saying something stupid and getting you in trouble, is what I'm saying. But I guess this would really only matter if you're live streaming, because if you're making videos like me, I can just cut that out anyways. But yeah, I have mine set to on because it's been a while since I've had it on. Want to see what people have to say. Hopefully nothing too cringe, you know. Voice chat ducking. A value of 0 means that the game audio will be lowered. Okay, so basically this basically means The lower that you have the volume, the lower your game volume is going to be when you're talking to someone or when they're talking to you. And then if you turn this up to a higher number, then this is going to lower the volume of of all the voices that are talking in your squad or your party, and keep the game volume at a higher volume. But for me, I have it set to 50, and this will basically keep the volume of anyone who's talking, and as well as the in-game volume set to the same exact volume. So there's nothing being there's nothing overlapping or nothing no volume fluctuating or whatever. Basically, it keeps everything to the same volume. And then for the microphone mode, I have mine open mic. This allows you to talk to people, but if you have it set to off, then no matter what you do, you're not going to be able to talk to anyone in game. But yeah, with open mic, this is what allows you to actually talk to people in the game. But if you're on Discord, then you don't have to worry about microphone mode really. Now we're on subtitles. I have my subtitles set to off because I don't really care about being able to read what I'm hearing, if I even hear anything at all. And then everything else is just by default, really. I don't even know why this is grayed out, I guess. Oh yeah, so you can change this if you have your subtitles on. Again, I don't care for subtitles though. But if you want them on, then yeah. This is just the size of them. This will adjust whether or not there's an outline surrounding the tiles themselves. As you can tell, it makes it brighter if it's white. And then the background opacity of this little subtitle texture. Yeah, you can change how visible it is, how solid or transparent it is. But me, I just have it set to off. I don't really care because I'm not blind. But even if I was, I don't know why I would be playing this game. But yeah. Now we are finally on a very important part of this video, the controller settings. Obviously, if you're on PC, you're not going to have this option unless you're playing with a controller, but for anyone who's playing with a mouse, keyboard, yeah, this isn't going to be the video, or this isn't going to be the section of a video for you, but for my controller players, especially my Xbox controller players, yeah, this is what we got. So, most of everything that I have set to default because you can customize the controls for everything anyways. As you can tell, my on foot and ground vehicle controls are all customized. I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be custom too, unless I just left it alone. That's strange because in oh wait, now I know. Yeah, okay. So when you go to edit controller mapping, it will change. It'll automatically change these things from whatever it is, from default to custom to everything else. I don't want to flip it off of custom because then that's just going to undo all my controller binds, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, when you click on edit controller mapping, it's going to change everything, all these things respectively from whatever it is on to custom. So by default, everything is on default. But if you change something, it'll automatically switch to custom. And you do that by clicking on Edit Controller Mappings. In general, on foot, this is what I have for, these are the buttons that I press for all these different things. Interact, that's basically if you're trying to hop in a vehicle, use a zip line or reload, and have it. The X button, as you can tell, but for both. And then for the blinks, I didn't really give them a custom setting, so it's whatever it is by default. That's whatever the game has. These blank spots by default is what is the button that I press. I guess you can say. Obviously, I don't know off the top of my head what they are, but I just know whenever I'm playing the game. For the map zoom and size, which this is I've been talking for way too long. This adjusts the map size, zoom, and size whenever whenever you're trying to fluctuate the minimap from, like in my case, 75 meters to 150 meters to 300 meters. This is how you change that on the go. And obviously, if you hold it down, you're going to be able to pull out your big map and see the entire map at the same time. Change scene of vehicle, I have this set to A. Skip deploy, set to A. And then for the pinging or coma rows, I believe this is the thing that allows you to pull out the ranger drone, that sort of thing. Pull out a tablet, spot spot flags on your map or whatever, or if you're a squad leader, it makes it to where you can command your squad by whatever, holding this button down and pulling out, touching the flag, whatever. Just play with this game. I don't even know how to explain this, but yeah, pinging, spotting players. I have it set to RB. If you hold RB, you pull out the menu that allows you to do certain things, like pull out the ranger drone. For the movement, I believe all this is by default except for the crouch and prone button, which I have this set to hold R. Because for whatever reason, Battlefield 2042 doesn't have a tactical option like Call of Duty does. So yeah, instead of meleeing with my by tapping down on my right analog stick, I melee with the B button. And then for when I'm crouching and going prone, obviously, yeah, I either press or hold down the my right analog stick. But yeah, everything else, I'm pretty sure everything else is by default. You gotta double tap your left stick to be able to sprint. Double tap that to be able to sprint, and then hold it down just to be able to sprint. Vault. That's basically if you're trying to go over like a ledge or whatever, trying to jump over something. Not sure why they didn't just combine these two, really. Strange. Yep, this is when I move my right analog stick. This is when I move my right analog stick up and down, left or right. And then this is whenever I'm walking either side to side or forwards and backwards. And now we're on weapons and equipment for foot soldiers. Everything is by default except, as you can tell, my melee. I have my melee set to B. But in order for me to explain everything, actually everything's not in default. I take that back. I did change these things too, because it makes more sense to me. But yeah, whatever. Fire. This is when you shoot your gun. Zoom. This is when you're zooming in or aiming down sights. Reload. X button. Melee. Press B button. Specialist gadget. This is the specialist equipment that you use or pull out. I have mine set to left D-pad, and then when you go over to the next gadget, I have it set to up D-pad, I guess you could say. Up D-pad, and then to the next gadget, I have it set to left D-pad. As you can tell, the reason why I have it set this way is because from left to right, it goes from left to top to right. It makes more sense to me. Like I said, all these other ones are whatever they are by default. Steady scope, that's when you're holding your breath as a sniper. Hold down your L analog stick. Toggle scope, if your scope has multiple zoom levels, you just press B. It doesn't interfere with melee whatsoever. So obviously, whenever you're trying to adjust the fire rates, if you want to go from full auto to semi-auto to burst fire, that's you press down D-pad on that, which doesn't interfere with anything. And then I know it has said before that if I do change these things, it could cause problems with this, but it really doesn't. Whenever you pull out to your weapon to change attachments or change magazines, basically, yeah, you use these D-pad inputs to change. Like I said, for the up D-pad, change the sights. For left D-pad, change the barrel attachments. For down D-pad, change the under barrel attachments. And then for the right D-pad, just change the ammo types. And then when I'm throwing grenades and using throwing knives, I have this randomly set to LB because I didn't really have anything better to put there. I know in the past, normally I would throw a grenade by holding, I believe it was RB, but The way that Battlefield 2042 works, yeah, you can't. If I'm trying to ping, if I'm trying to spot an enemy using the RB button, I'm also going to end up throwing a grenade or throwing up by accident. So yeah, like I said, I don't really have anything good for LBs, so that's why I use that for the grenade and the whatever the grenade throwing knife option, whatever, on the very far right of your very far right side of your HUD in the bottom right corner. But yeah. Then I have to set to Y to switch between weapons, or if I hold it down to modify my weapon to change the different attachments. For my gunner settings, whether or not I'm in a tank or a helicopter, this is what I have. Obviously, a lot of these things are what they are by default. Honestly, I can't really think of anything that is different from what the game already has it set as, other than maybe ping, because I think ping is. I'm not sure, I can't remember if this is true or not, but I think ping and Coma Rose or whatever, it's LB by default. But yeah, other than that, this is what I have for my gunner general settings. Best for the movement, if I'm aiming up and down or moving left to right. This is what it is by default. I'll leave that. And then, yeah, these are all basically the same thing by default. Switching weapons, pressing Y, whatever. Activating equipment slots. That's in order to switch the switch between the two different weapons I guess you can use as a gunner. You just tap that over and over again. That's what I have mine on. And then we have the vehicle driver. I believe everything is the same for this. Well, everything's not the same for this. I did change some things, but a lot of it is the same thing by default. But yeah, this is what I have for my vehicle driver settings. For movement's basically all the same, really, as what it is by default. Maybe handbrake's different. I can't remember. All I know is I have handbrake as B for this. I can't remember if it's on A by default or not. But yeah, this is what I have for my vehicle. Whenever I'm trying to drive a vehicle around, this is what I have on, and I'm pretty sure it's the same thing as what it is by default. And then we have the weapon and equipment settings, which this is the most important thing. I have changed this. Obviously, fire is still the same, and switching weapons is still the same. I didn't even bother putting a secondary weapon Y there. Because, well, I mean, when you're switching weapons, all you have to do is just press Y to do that. You don't need a special button for that. I'm not even sure if I really need to have Y on primary weapon either, to be honest. I could probably just get rid of that, but I don't think it. I played with a tank before on these settings, and I don't think I noticed any difference. So I mean, obviously, this should get in the way of something, I guess. But I haven't really noticed any difference when pressing Y in the driver's seat to switch between my primary and secondary weapon. I guess there wouldn't be no harm in clearing it though, right? No, I'm trying to get rid of it. I'm trying to cancel it. Yeah, I don't see the point of having a special button for that. But I also don't think it harms anything or changes anything neither. But yeah. Anyways, this is the most important thing. I got sidetracked. I have this set up the same way as I do with my soldiers. Although the settings are just, I don't know, it's weird how they have it, because on the foot soldier side of things, the special equipment is the same thing as the specialist equipment, and that's before these other two things, or before the other three things. So yeah, I don't know why this is out of order, but yeah. Your special equipment for your vehicles, that's going to be the thing after your secondary weapon. I have this set to left D-pad, and then when you move over to the next thing to activate the first equipment slot, have that set to up D-pad, and then for the second equipment slot, I have that set to right D-pad. Which I know in the past this did get in the way of the Ram vehicle. The Ram vehicle's settings were weird for this, as opposed to every other vehicle in the game. But yeah, I think this is the setting I use that makes the most sense for every vehicle in the game, including the Ram, which, like I said, was just being weird for some reason. It makes the most sense with my character, with my on-foot character controllers. Now we are on transport driver. Again, I think everything is on by default. Everything is what it is on by default in the general settings anyways. Now that I think about it, yeah, this is all by default because at the very beginning when I was on my first set of settings, this was not set to custom. So yeah, basically everything that I have here is what the game has it set by default, and I never changed it. So yeah, if you need to copy this for whatever reason, if you for whatever reason don't know how to reset everything back to default settings, yeah, this is what this is. And then we have the weapon and equipment slot for transport driver. Yeah, I didn't really change anything. It's just left D-pad for that and right D-pad for that. And next we have the pilot settings. Again, I did not change them. They are what they are by default, which is these things, these button layouts right here. Movement. Which I think for free look, this only works if you're in first person when you're doing that. Otherwise, you're just moving your entire vehicle in third person. Well, with all of it for that matter. But yeah, all these, like I said, all these are all on by default. Weapons and equipment. I have everything set to default. And then for whatever reason we have the helicopter. I don't know why that threw me off for a second there. I just thought it was kind of weird to have helicopter and pilot settings. But I guess, if you're in a jet, that's what the pilot settings are really for. But yeah. Why not just call it jet settings then instead of pilot settings? Whatever. Anyways, helicopter settings. Everything is what it is by default. These are the button layouts I use on Xbox. Then you have your movement. Everything should be the same as the pilot settings, really. Everything is the same as the pilot settings. And then we get to the menu settings. And the difference between the general settings and general settings is that, yeah, we have general settings. What's the point of even having... Whatever, anyways. Scoreboard, blank, so it is what it is by default. Full map, you gotta hold in. I have my Xbox controller set to have to hold this button down in order to pull it out for like 2 or 3 seconds. If you're trying to join into a server and you realize you don't like that lobby because you don't want to play defense on breakthrough for the 1000th time, yeah, just this is the button I use to abort. And then if I need to pull out chat, in order to pull out chat, you need to press the menu button, which is the same thing as that, except without holding the button down. And then once you press the menu button, you press RT to be able to pull out to use the chat bot option in the top left corner of your screen to talk to people. And as you can tell, these are all on by default. Social menu, R, hold down the R analog stick. I believe this is the one that allows you to actually be able to text, because this pulls out the menu and then you have to press another button to actually be able to select inputs to type in the type into the text box in the corner of the screen, whatever. But yeah, I'm pretty sure these are all what they are by default. Not 100% sure. Yeah, as you can tell, as long as you don't change anything in those settings like I just did right then, all these stay what they are by default. But for the things that I did change, it shows up as custom, which the only thing I did change were the ground vehicle driver settings for controls and buttons, and then the on-foot control settings. Next, we have the global control settings. I have the invert all vertical look to off because I don't like it to be trippy when I'm flying a jet, even though I rarely do. Oh shit, Okay, I was about to say, because if I changed everything by doing that, I would have been so mad. I would have been pissed. But nah, I have everything set to off because I don't like for up to be down, and I don't like for down to be up whenever I'm trying to move, whenever I'm trying to fly or drive a vehicle. That would be really trippy on foot too, by the way. Who even plays like that? Why would you ever want to move your analog stick up to move your character model down, and then move your character model up by moving your analog stick down or up, whatever. I don't know. I'm getting confused now. Anyways, I have all this set to off. Control vibration set to off as well because I don't really like having control vibration on. I'm not a woman, so yeah, I don't really need to use that vibration if you know what I mean. Anyways, on foot settings, my soldier aim sensitivity is set to 50. This is, as you can tell, right in the middle. I don't like for it to be too high, but I also don't like for it to be too low, especially whenever someone surprises me. I need to be able to shoot them as soon as I can get my sights onto them. Why did they copy the setting? I do not know why. No, I don't want I don't want my vertical look to be inverted. I don't want for up to be down and down to be up. So yeah, that's off. Field of view, they copied that from the very beginning. None of FOV in case you forgot. In case you forgot this one, have the set to on. I'm not going to bother explaining it again. Just go watch the beginning of the video. It's there because they copied this setting to uniform soldier aiming, enable the use of procedural aim rate when in zoom instead of original preset numbers, the preset, whatever. I really don't care. I'm pretty sure this is what it is on. Yeah, okay, so yeah. This is what it is by default. Wait, what? Hmm. Now that I think about it, now that I think about it, you know, I don't even know what this setting does. All I know is that Battlefield 4 was my favorite Battlefield, and yeah, everything that Battlefield 4 has, that's kind of what I want my settings to copy. Although, to be honest, I didn't really notice anything up to this point, really. I didn't notice anything when I was playing the game up to this point about whatever this is about. I didn't notice anything with my settings as far as being able to move my character model when I'm shooting my gun or whatever. I might regret turning this off later on, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. All I know is that yeah, I changed it right then just to be able to change this. But yeah, anyways, I guess have this set to off and then copy the settings that match your favorite Battlefield game, regardless of what Battlefield it is, whether it be Battlefield 2042 current patch, Battlefield 2042 before Season 6, before they added all of these weird aim settings. Battlefield 5, Battlefield 1, and Battlefield 4, which is what I like to use because Battlefield 4 is my favorite Battlefield game. Battlefield 3, Battlefield Bad Company 2, Battlefield Bad Company. Now we're going real old school with that. And then linear, I have no idea what that is. But then again, I just got finished saying I have no idea what any of this is about. But yeah, whatever setting, whatever settings are the same as what Battlefield 4 had, that's what I like to copy. So this all helps, supposedly all helps with your aiming. Oh, give me a second. I want to see if this changes that. Okay, so yeah, I have no idea why this doesn't change. Oh wait, that's why. Because Battlefield 4, 3, and Bad Company have no preset acceleration. So yeah, if you're a Battlefield 4 player like me, you don't even have to worry about adjusting this. Otherwise, yeah, in order to change that, you gotta change this first. But overall, for aiming, yeah, just copy the settings of your favorite Battlefield game. I'll just stick with Battlefield 4 settings for aiming. I don't know how I completely glossed over this earlier, but yeah, I completely skipped past this somehow, and this is also very important too. But yeah, your soldier aim assist and your soldier aim assist slowdown. I have both these set to 100 because aim assist is basically overpowered, and why not have it as easy as possible to be able to aim on people and shoot them. And then when it comes to soldier aim assist zoom snap, I have that turned down to 70 because if you have it turned up all the way to 100, there might be times where you would try to aim at people or shoot people, and then you'll end up locking on to someone behind the person or someone that's way off in the distance away from the person that you're trying to aim at. Basically, what I don't want to happen is I don't want to try to shoot someone that's right in my face, and then my character, for whatever reason, gets locked onto someone that's way in the background, if you know what I mean. But yeah, aim assist is pretty much overpowered in this game, so I would definitely crank that up. And then when it comes to movement, why are they copying these settings? You know, I don't. I've looked through these settings before, and I'm just starting to realize that they've copied. Like, there's a lot of settings that are just on here twice, at least. Whatever. Soldier sprint, click, analog stick, woo. Double click it to tactical sprint, woo. There's your sprint button. Sprint to vault over, no, because I don't want to run into a wall, then automatically jump over it. Especially if there's an enemy there, and man, this is just important if you're just trying to avoid avoid getting shot at. Then all of a sudden you go up to like a small piece of cover, and then your character just automatically just jumps over it because you have this on. But no, we don't want that, so I have mine set to off. And then I have this set to off because yeah, I don't want to always be tactical sprinting. I want to be able to switch between regular sprint and tactical sprinting with with these settings right here. But yeah, if you want to always tactical sprint, have the set to always on. When it comes to zoom, yep, I have this set to on to hold instead of toggle because hold is how it always has been for any game for me up to this point. Zoom, LT, aiming down sights, whatever. Steady scope, I hold that because I don't like to have I don't like toggle because it's an easy way for me to forget whether or not my character is about to run out of breath and hold on to the scope to keep it still before it starts flipping out and starts and while the scope's just going everywhere. But yeah, have that set to hold. Same thing, set a scope, have it set to hold down the L button, which will not interfere with this at all because you're already ADS with a scope, sniper scope, or whatever at that point. I copy this setting from the very beginning. I have mine set to 70. Wait, or is it from the very beginning? I think when you get to controller tuning, this setting is also going to be there too. But either ways, I have mine set to 70 because I do not want, because I want my whenever I'm zoomed in with a sniper scope that's like 6 times zoom or more, I don't want the sensitivity to be the same as my regular sensitivity because it's just going to be too fast for enemies that are really far away because they're not going to be moving as fast as they are the closer they are to you. So yeah, I have my soldier zoom aim sensitivity set to 70 for that to help better with sniping. It slows it down slightly from my normal 50 sensitivity, which we just saw earlier. And then when it comes to other parachute auto deploy, nope. I like to be able to deploy it whenever I want to, which is preferably as close to the ground as possible. Air spawn parachute auto deploy. Obviously, I want this to be on because, yeah, I don't want to just be blast screen for like a few seconds, and all of a sudden I'm splatted on the ground because the game is just being dumb. So yeah, that's why I have that set on. Even though I never really spawn anywhere and then have to. I never really spawn anywhere and are immediately in the air parachuting, but if that were to ever happen, I want this set to on just so I don't splat into the ground by accident. Auto throw grenades and throwing knobs, you saw this before, we want that off. Auto throw crates, we want that off. That's only useful if you're playing as Angel. Revive in erection, I want it set to toggle instead of hold because if I have it set to hold, then I gotta hold down my button the entire time, and sometimes you're going to need that extra finger to be able to move your character, especially if you're trying to revive someone and someone comes around the corner and tries to shoot you, but you need to escape. So yeah, you don't really want to be stuck reviving that person. But now that I think about it, that might be more useful for Horde, because then if you are getting shot at and need to run away, you can just let go, and then it should cancel the revive. But I don't know. I still like to have it on toggle, anyways. Another way to break it off of toggle when you're trying to revive someone is to just move your analog stick or whatever, move your character model to the left or right or up, or not down but up, to get off of the person you're trying to revive if you need to stop reviving real fast. And then request to skip revive, I have it set to toggle, because if I don't have it set to toggle, then I gotta hold my A button to die faster or whatever, or have to hold A the entire time I want to be revived. We will just stick with toggling that. And then invert the button input for throwing and detonating C5. I have no idea what that does. All I know is I have it set to off because that's what it is by default. The vertical aim ratio, this makes it to where basically the higher you go, the more basically whenever you move up and down and left to right, the sensitivity is still going to remain the same. But for me personally, I like having it set to 60 because I like for my vertical sensitivity, basically when I'm moving up and down, or moving my character up and down, I like for that to be a little bit slower than when I'm moving my character left to right or side to side whenever I'm trying to turn left to right or whatever. So yeah, that's why you want this to be a little bit lower for that. But I think, wait, hold on. Adjust the ratio of vertical and horizontal for the soldier at 100%. The crosshair moves the same distance when aiming vertically as it does when aiming horizontally. Lower values dampen the vertical impact and add with finer control, while values near 100% keep vertical or horizontal movement similar. So yeah, basically, if you want this setting to be lower, your the faster you move left to right is going. You're basically moving left to right is going to be a lot faster than moving up and down. But I don't want it to be too fast, so yeah, that's why it's on 60. Could have done a better job explaining that, but it kind of tripped me up for a second there. I don't know why. Yeah. Basically, you just don't want your vertical and horizontal sensitivities to be the same. This is especially important for sniping. Especially for sniping, you don't want to be moving up and down as fast as moving left to right. My vertical zoom ratio, if uniform zoom aiming is disabled. I guess I had that disabled, although I don't remember what that did, even though it's just not too long ago. Uniform, oh yeah, I remember now. I'm pretty sure that when I have this thing set to off all the way up here, or to on, it toggles this off. Yeah, there you go. So if you adjust the ratio of vertical aims to horizontally for the ratio when zoomed at 100%, the crosshair moves the same distance aimed vertically as it does when aiming horizontally. Lower values dampen the. This is stupid to me. Both of these do the exact same thing. I'm not even joking. I guess this is more specifically if you're using a sniper scope, while this is just if you're aiming in down in general, but these do the exact same thing to me, so yeah, we're going to turn that back off. And I haven't played with this on at all, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to want to have my both of these to be the exact same thing. Both of them set to 60. Zoom, transition, sensitivity, smoothing. Basically, whenever you're going in and out of aimed out sides, you want this to be smooth. You don't want this to be you don't want it to feel like you're having an FPS drop or whatever. And then when it comes to all the zoom aim sensitivities, 1 times 1 point whatever, I'm not saying all this, but yeah, all these are set to default, all the way up until 6 times zoom. For my 6 times zoom, my 8 times zoom, my 10 times zoom, and my 12 times zoom sensitivity, aim sensitivity, I have it set to 80 to again slow down even more my sniping whenever I'm using the sniper rifles, because I want to be as accurate as possible, and it's kind of hard to be accurate whenever you're moving just as fast as if you're trying to aim or shoot someone that's literally right there in your face, if you know what I mean. Then next we have the vehicle aim sensitivity settings. I have the same thing as my On foot soldier sensitivity, which is 50. You don't want any of these to be inverted, which I don't know why this is on here again. This is on here again. I have this set to the max. My aim sensitivity, I have this set to 80. This is a bit different. This is a bit different than this. Although I don't really remember how different it is, really. They added some, I don't know, some of these settings are just weird. It's like they added the same thing twice. But I guess if you wanted, I guess by default, if you were like, let's say, set this to 100 and then adjusted every little thing, then this is what these things would be. But no, for me, I just leave it as I just adjusted my vehicle aim sensitivity to be 50, just like my soldier, and I'm pretty sure these are what they are by default. I don't really mess with the sensitivity any more than that. The only reason to adjust these two would be if you set this to 100 and wanted to change every little sensitivity for every little thing in the game. This is what this says by default as well, 100. And then obviously you want all your vehicle settings to match that of your favorite Battlefield game, which for me it's Battlefield 4. So yeah, I basically copied all the vehicle aim sensitivities or aim input settings from Battlefield 4 onto this game. And then because of that, I don't have to adjust this at all. My aiming left-right acceleration, which I didn't really mention earlier, but I think what this does is it has something to do with like how fast you are aiming. Your aiming is when you move left to right. So, for example, I guess if you move this up to a higher setting, you moving right's going to be a bit faster than moving left, and then vice versa if you move this setting lower. Either ways, don't have to worry about that with these settings being on. And then when it comes to movement and vehicle aim relative controls, I have it set to on. So yeah, basically this will help line up your, wait, hold on, let me see. Enable or disable aim relative controls of vehicles with turrets. When set to on, this vehicle will attempt to move relative to where the camera is aiming. Yeah, so basically, wherever your camera is looking at, you want your vehicle to move in relation to where you're aiming at, versus having it off, which is when you set it off, this vehicle will move relative to its own facing. Which, for me, actually, I would actually put this to off, because the thing about having this set to off is that you're sometimes whenever you are facing a different direction from where your vehicle is moving, sometimes they can absolutely screw with your vehicle's movement. So I think I might want to have this actually set off so that I can actually move my vehicle independent or move my vehicle differently and independently from the turret that's on top, especially when it comes to a tank. That would explain why I was having trouble earlier, having trouble before with the tank, like trying to get out of a sticky situation. Then all of a sudden my tank or whatever wants to do some weird movement. But yeah, I think I'm going to actually have this set to off instead of on like I had it before. Interesting. And then when it comes to vehicle boost, whenever you're going fast, you have the option to have it on click or hold. Obviously, I want it on click because I don't want to hold down my button the entire time. When it comes to weapon vehicle zoom, we have it on toggle. Basically, I think, well, all these settings are what they are by default, really. I just don't get it, man. Like, so many of these settings are just they're in the settings multiple times. Like if you pay attention to what I'm seeing, a lot of these settings are in multiple places. So if you change one, it's just whatever. You're changing the same thing over and over again. I don't get it. Whatever. But no, these are all set to default when it comes to zoom. When you're on the pilot, you don't want your whatever. I'm not saying this again. Just copy all this. All this stuff is what it is by default. Except maybe that. I think I might turn that down to 60 myself. I don't even remember. Obviously, this is going to help with being able to move your vehicle around and aiming with your vehicle when you're trying to, especially when you're trying to destroy other vehicles. Decouple tank turret aiming from turning. Decouple turret. Set this out allowed to drive across the lane. Do tank keep the crosshair position when turn the vehicle. But yeah, I have this set to off because again, I don't want it to mess with the movement of my vehicle, especially when I'm in a sticky situation and wanting to get out of it. And then yeah, full auto with airplane. Nope. That's the same thing with tactical sprint. I want to be able to choose between full throttle and regular default flying speed or whatever. And now we get to the controller settings. Like before, controller variation, I have mine set to off because I don't like it to vibrate, but if you want it to be on and want to feel a certain thing, then have it on. I don't care. Now this is where the part of the video gets slightly different. So a lot of this stuff is what it is by default, except for my center Z zone for my controller right stick and my controller left stick. Basically, these center dead zones affects how much you have to move your analog stick to cause your character model to move, and this is not going to be the same for everyone. I would just like to put that out there. This is not going to be the same for everyone, so you're going to have to play around with it. And in order for you to play around with it, all you really have to do is go into like a private game or, well, a solo co-op game. It really doesn't matter, and just wherever these settings are on by default, just continue to adjust them until your character stops moving. Because sometimes what will happen is you can be standing completely still and like your character model will move on its own. Like it'll slightly move, I guess you could say. And in order for me to find out the best value for me to put on for both of these, you basically just keep adjusting this over and over again until your character stops moving, like in game, which I'm about to show you right now. Alright, so this is how you go about properly adjusting your central dead zones on your controller. The first thing you're going to want to do is load up a game of either Breakthrough Solo Co-op or Conquest Solo Co-op. It really doesn't matter which one you do, to be honest. Just start one of these on any map. Obviously, for the sake of this video, I'm going to try to choose a map that's nice and clear with no darkness like Redacted. So we're going to be doing Spearhead to present this example or whatever you want to call it. As you can tell, my character model is moving all completely on its own. I'm not even touching the right analog stick right now. I'm trying to see if my left analog stick will do anything, but yeah. Can't really tell if the left analog stick moves around or not, but yeah. The central dead zone, you gotta adjust it to make it to where this stops happening. And in order for you to do that, as you can tell, in order to make it stop moving, you gotta go to your settings, and then simply just continue to adjust this right here. Which obviously earlier on you saw me I had it on 15.5. So, for example, I want to put it on 9 to see if it still continues to move. So yeah. In order to cause it to move again, I had to just touch my analog stick again. But yeah, you don't want to have to deal with this, especially when you're trying to aim in on someone and be as accurate as possible. So I want to go back to my settings and I want to readjust it some more. Let's go to 13. As you can tell, it's still moving around. Alright, how about we go to... Oops, not that high, because I know it won't go that high. Or I don't need to go that high, whatever. Anyways, 14. Still moves on 14, okay. Let's go all the way to 15. Still moves on 15. Oh no. Alright, let's go to 15.5. It's still moving for whatever reason. Oh, there we go. Now it just stops. So yeah, that's how you adjust the settings for when you're moving. In order to keep your character model from, doing this. Which right now I'm touching the analog stick. But now I'm not, as you can tell, because now I'm not moving anymore. Woo! But yeah, if you were having a problem with your left analog stick that controls movements, you would also change this as well, but I can't remember why I have it set on 12. Maybe 12 is what it is on by default, but Yeah, it does look like it affects my left analog stick does not move on its own, let's just say, but my right analog stick moves around a lot. Which, I mean, you can still slightly tell it does. It still kind of does move a slight amount on occasion when I am moving my right analog stick, but it's not really as bad as it was before. Which I'm gonna go ahead and just turn this one back to 12 for whatever reason. I don't really have a specific reason for that. It's probably what that is on by default. I can't really remember, but yeah. 15.5 is what I have to use to prevent my right analog stick from moving on its own. Then all of a sudden, oh, there we go. Now, see, it's moving again. Oops. There we go. 15.5 is my secret number. What about yours, right? But yeah, other than that, all the settings are still the same. I don't really see the point of changing anything else because at the end of the day, for me, it's the dead zone. It's the center dead zone is more important, not the edge or the maximum input or whatever. But yeah, like I said, all these are set to default. I don't really mess with them. The only thing you guys should be worried about is the center dead zones for your left and right analog sticks. Now we're finally on the accessibility settings. Honestly, I'm not even too happy about doing this part of the video because everything that's here, it's literally just a copy and paste for something that was earlier on in the video. Why did DICE do this? Why did DICE do some of these things? I don't understand. Anyways, if you don't want a person talking to you in-game, one of the characters from the game, just have the menu narration off. Is that, or I think that's what it is. Yeah, I don't even know. Anyways, I just have it set off anyways. Playing incoming text as speech. I guess this would only be helpful if you're blind. Don't know why you're playing a video game if you're blind, again. Or if you really want to hear an AI voice speak what people are texting in chat. I don't really care for that though. And then converting incoming voice to text chat. I have this set on just in case I have a hard time understanding someone, I guess. It'll show in the top top left corner of the screen. You know, if someone's speaking through a mic, what exactly they're saying, it'll show a mic icon right next to it. It's a neat little thing, really, but it's not really that important. I just have it for the sake of curiosity. If someone speaks, I want to see what the game thinks they're saying. And then yeah, just copy all these custom colors if you really want. Obviously, you can choose each individual color you want. And if you got a certain type of color blindness, you can change it or whatever. I don't want to cycle through anything because I don't want to mess everything up as far as these settings, even though I don't think it does change anything even if I were to do that, but nah. If you have a specific kind of color blindness, you can adjust this, but for me, I just change into each individual thing, which again, this is all earlier on in the video as well. I'm not even going to bother repeating these things, just copy this if you really want. Oh, brother. I guess this is the only thing that makes sense, though. The only thing that we haven't seen thus far. Concussion effect. You want this to be dark unless you want your entire screen to pop up white every time someone throws a concussion grenade, which I don't. I hate that a lot. I would prefer just a dark screen to that. Quasi projection on and off. Whatever. These two. Controller vibration. This is the third time I've seen that. Off. Control hints. Have it on because why not? And then if you're using Zane, this is going to affect his attributes or whatever. Basically, whenever you if you kill an enemy with less than 100 health, it makes your screen has a visual effect. I have mine set to max because really it doesn't. It's not a big deal to me. It doesn't really, it doesn't get in the way of anything. Same thing with the sound effect. It sounds like a medic healing you. That's the sound effect or whatever. And I have that turned up to max. But yeah, these two are up to the max just simply because it doesn't really matter to me. I think that's what they are by default. And then we have subtitles. Everything's the same as I mentioned earlier before. I'm not repeating myself. Controls. This is the second time that we've seen all of these dice. Just copy these if you really, really want to. And again, I'm not repeating myself. I already went through every single one of these. Anyways, extras. Uh, why is this here? I honestly don't even know why. What's the point of all this? Whoa, look at all these different settings you can change. But yeah, I guess this is all that's going to do it for this video, really. So, if you guys found this video useful, please remember to like and subscribe, please. I've been talking for like the last 3 hours, bro. Going through every single one of these settings, and my throat is sore. All I know is that I would appreciate it if you guys would, like I said, like and subscribe because that would mean a lot to me because yeah, this video took a lot longer than it should have. Anyways, if you guys would like to see more content from me, just yeah, stick around for the end screen. But anyways, I'm done with this video.